Hi everyone, welcome to Medical Microbiology. So today we will continue chapter 25, lecture 4. And today we will discuss the non-enveloped RNA viruses. Hey, remember again this classification. RNA virus that infect human is considered as animal virus. Mostly they will have envelope. Okay. And because RNA, so mostly they will only uh, one strand of RNA. So it's going to be single-stranded RNA will be the most common type. Okay, therefore, these are the most common type of virus that infects human, which is enveloped with single-stranded RNA. Maybe segmented RNA or non-segmented, or the special virus that carry their own enzyme is called the retroviruses. So we already done with this envelope single-stranded RNA viruses. Now we go to the least common one, which is the non-envelope. Non-envelope. Then from this non-envelope or naked viruses, the single-stranded will be most common because this is RNA. And the double-stranded, this is kind of weird viruses. Is very, very rare. The virus that carry double-stranded RNA because mostly RNA are single-stranded. Okay. For the naked single-stranded RNA, there are two groups, okay, Picovirus and caliciviruses, while for the naked double-stranded RNA will be only one group, which is reoviruses. Okay, we start with the first one, which is the Picovirus. Okay, pico actually mean very, very small. Okay, so this is after or lower than nano. We have meter, millimeter, then gonna be micro, and then nano, and this is pico, which is very, very small virus. So this is considered as the smallest type of viruses. Okay? There are several types, okay? Enteroviruses, including over here is actually the one that causing the polio, okay, poliomyelitis, and also hepatitis A viruses. It is in the group of picornaviruses, subgroup of enteroviruses. Entero mean the virus that actually go to our GI system, okay, GI tract. Entero mean intestine. And then rhinoviruses and cardioviruses that maybe infect heart and the brain. Okay, again, maybe the most common one is this virus over here, which is polioviruses that causing the poliomyelitis. And this poliomyelitis actually, litis is actually the disease that almost eradicated, but there are still some people have polio, but the vaccination actually able to reduce the number of polio patients worldwide. Okay, this is considered as the disease that almost eradicated. It's not eradicated yet. Okay, as we know, most of the kids right now they do not have polio compared to the kids on the old time when many people actually have polio. Okay, that's maybe the first, the most common type of picornaviruses, which is causing the polio. The second one may be this one, okay, Hep A, okay, hepatitis A viruses. This is also enteroviruses. It's usually transferred through the food or drink that is contaminated with the viruses. Rhinovirus is usually causing a very mild, common type of cold. Okay, cardioviruses can also causing the and myocarditis, which is inflammation of the brain and inflammation of the heart. Aptoviruses, this is foot and mouth disease. Okay, polio, this is one of the most common type of picornaviruses, which is causing polio or poliomyelitis. And polio, this is a kind of acute enteroviral. So this is enteroviral, is mean that the virus actually enter into our system through the food or to drink, go to the GI tract. Mostly will not cause infection to some people, but about maybe 2% can cause the infection. Okay? So as I mentioned before, eradication of this disease is actually expected, okay, because so many people now have the polio vaccination. It is expected that on the next generation, there will be no people with the polio. Maybe right now you still have some older people that have polio, but mostly kids now, they do not have polio because it almost eradicated. Again, this is the epidemiology or the transmission of polio, mostly through the oral, right? Whether drink or food. Okay, so transmission is fecal oral route. Mostly very mild or even non-symptomatic, non-specific symptom. Fever, headache, nausea, sore throat, myalgia. Okay. Now the problem is if that virus actually enter into the nervous system, especially the motor neuron, it actually will destroy the motor neuron. Motor neuron is the neurons that order our effector to do something, to perform something. One example of effector is our muscle. Okay, so when the motor neuron is affected, then what happened? The muscle will be also affected. The muscle will not contract, will not move. Especially for this virus, they infect the lower motor neuron, which is the motor neuron that order contractions of muscles in our legs or our foot. And what happened? Causing the flaccid paralysis. So people that have polio, they usually unable to move their legs. And then if they unable to move their legs for a long time, what happened? The muscle become very, very small. And then you see their legs also become very small because of this infection. So that's actually the problem with the polio infection. 90% usually asymptomatic, do not really give the sign and symptom infection. It's just in the stomach, in the in the GI tract system. Sometimes it's just go and then flush it into the fecal. But whenever this virus enter the neuron, especially motor neuron, then it can cause the flaccid paralysis, okay, unable to move the muscle. So this is example of a person with the polio. You see this muscle on the lower extremities, the leg is become smaller and smaller. When this kid or this girl, this kid growing, okay, their body will be growing, but these legs will keep small. Okay, because what? Because the muscle unable to move, causing the muscle to be reduced in strength and also in size. So it stay smaller. So this is the polio. When this polio actually attack the motor neurons, okay, that control the movement of muscle on the lower extremities, on the leg. Okay, treatments and prevention. Again, the vaccine is available. It has been used for several years. And again, it is expected that the polio will be eradicated worldwide. So it means that the new generation mostly will not get the polio disease because of this vaccination. There are some other enteroviruses that will not cause the polio. This is non-polio enteroviruses. Okay, so this is a type of common complications of the enteroviruses, common cold syndromes, skin rashes, hand, foot, mouth disease. And again, this is mostly the non-polio enteroviruses. Okay. They also can infect the around the eyes. Another subgroup of Pico or Picornaviruses is the one that causing the hepatitis A, Hep A disease or virus. And again, this is transmitted through the oral transmission, which is through the food or water contaminated with the viruses, the picornaviruses. The next one, the one that do not have the envelope, okay, naked virus with the single-stranded RNA is the rhinoviruses. Okay, usually associated with the kind of giving a common cold sign and symptom. Okay, so this is symptom of someone that has contamination or infection with this human rhinoviruses, headache, chills, fatigue, sore throat, cough, nasal drainage. And mostly it's from oral transmission, so food and maybe drink or maybe the hand or the one that hand that may be infected or have some virus in it, it can enter through the mouth. The next one is caliciviruses. This is also the naked, non-segmented ssRNA, so single-stranded RNA is called the caliciviruses. Again, mostly fecal oral route, so the problem mostly in the GI tract, so causing the nausea, vomiting, cramp, diarrhea, and chills, because this is a GI tract infection. And the name of disease is called the Norwalk disease or Norwalk agents. Norwalk is actually the name of area or small city in Ohio. So this is the first case of this calicivirus. This is called the Norwalk enteritis, which is Norwalk gastroenteritis, is inflammation of the intestine. Okay. The last one, and this is the most or the least common one, The most rare one is a double-stranded RNA over here. It's only one, which is reoviruses. Okay, so naked, segmented, double-stranded RNA. Only one virus is called the reoviruses. Mostly is enteritis, especially on baby. As this is the infections mostly on baby, okay, infant and children over here. And mostly this is enteritis, which is like a diarrhea, okay, type of disease in the GI tract or GI system. Okay, the next one, it is prions. Remember, prion is not virus. It is just a protein. Okay, protein or misfolded protein that can cause infection to human. Mostly, okay, the infection is in the brain. Therefore, it's called the encephalopathies, which is TSE. Okay? Spongiform, transmissible spongiform encephalitis, or TSE. Okay? So mostly on the brain. Example in human is called the CJD, okay, which is the Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. So this is the most common type of TSE in human, okay, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. This is in brain damage. It's causing brain damage. In animal, it can cause what we call the cow disease, mad cow disease. So we can put mad cow disease over here. That's prions. Again, mostly in human, causing the spongiform encephalopathies. It means that the brain cell is become like a sponge. It's destroy the brain cell because of this infection. Mostly the prions actually transmitted through the food, especially if someone eat the animal brain. The animal brain that maybe have these prions. Like for example, mad cow disease. The mad cow, the cow, okay, will have the prions on their brain. If people eat this animal brain, then that person might infected by these prions, causing the TSE. Again, human TSE, transmissible spongiform encephalopathy. Mostly, the most common one is the Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, or CJD. And again, this is a type of spongiform encephalopathy, which is the, if you see this, compare the normal cell, the normal brain with the TSE brain. So you see the brain is kind of, the brain cell is kind of broken down over here. It's not that nice, compact like the normal brain over here. Okay, so it's causing the damage in the brain cell. Again, just comparing the normal cell with the cell of person with TSE. Okay, the preventions, the main prevention is avoidance. That's the main prevention. Avoidance to eat or to have contact with the contaminated tissue, mostly brain over here. Okay, animal brain. So try to avoid eating the animal brains, especially if that brain, they have the prions on it. So no treatment actually available for this type of disease. So that's the only way to prevent against this disease is to avoid eating the animal brain, especially cow brain, mad cow brain. I think that's enough for the naked RNA viruses. And then we will meet again on the last lecture, which is special discussion on arboviruses. Goodbye now.